As far as my education, I did the same thing that a lot of kids did. I went to college, but I really set my goals much higher than that. I decided at age 17 to pursue becoming a clinical psychologist and never wavered from that commitment and continued on after college and to get a master's degree in counseling and then eventually a doctorate degree in clinical psychology. A lot of people ask me how did I go from clinical psychology into this whole executive leadership development field. And in the late 90s, I started to develop an interest in pursuing what the other options were for me. And I had a small family that owned a small business, and they invited me to participate in what I didn't know what it was back then. I didn't know what it was, but it was sort of family conflict. But really what it was mitigating an entrepreneurial kind of small business environment. So I did strategic planning and conversations around how to set the vision for this young company. About that time, I started to realize that my skills were transferable into the corporate and organizational arena. And got very excited about that, pursued this whole field of coaching, got certified by the ICF in that coaching field, and began to do organizational and development and leadership coaching. So. What I find in great leaders is that they work hard on becoming great people. And I think this is one of the missing links of leadership development is that what we realize is that this is not a human doing effort, it's a human being. And so leaders that evolve and grow and develop and really have the highest impact grow themselves as a person in order to create the competency to be effective at leadership. One of my personal mottos that I follow, and I do it very well, is this idea that we need to all have the courage to be imperfect. And part of that comes out of my own brokenness and my own sense of understanding that I can't be perfect. And so, admittedly, it's an acknowledgement that I need to humble myself. But the idea here is that there's freedom in being able to not have to be perfect. And when we have the courage to be imperfect, then we're free to risk and to make mistakes. And most of my learning has come from mistakes, as many of our clients has. And I think this idea or way of learning about how to grow is really useful for me, and a lot of our clients have found it to be freeing for them. One of the most rewarding parts for me in doing leadership development is watching people grow. I think as a psychologist, of course, the thing that intrigues us most is the curiosity to see people get the light bulb turned on when they have insights. But coaching provides something much more than that. Insights, I learned as a therapist, insights alone do not produce change. And so I really like the awareness when somebody sees something differently for the first time or in a new way, and then that compels them forward into a new way of doing their life and a new way of embracing their career. There's nothing like it on the planet. I think it's just it's where I'm meant to be and where I love to be, and I enjoy not only that space but also following up with them and making sure that it's sustainable. A lot of people ask me this idea of what if I'm already a successful leader? What do I do next? Or do they need development? And the answer, of course, is just simply just ask yourself, can you get better? And this goes back to that courage to be imperfect. I think the question itself really is about fear. Of course we can all get better because we can't be perfect. And so as we lean into our strengths, the capacity for us to become even better and more fulfilled as a human being is exponentially better as we develop into an area we're already good at. The areas in which we grow the most are usually the areas in which we know the most anyway. And so yes, we can develop people that are highly successful, and there's lots of case studies to support this, and lots of great people become even greater as they lean into their strengths. I have spent the last 2 years with Andy, and probably the thing about Andy that's most fun, and not only being business partners with him, but Andy is a very highly intuitive person, and he can sit in an organization or in a room and he connects dots that I don't even see are in the room yet. And so working in one particular situation, Andy was working in a multidisciplinary environment, in a healthcare environment, which he hasn't done as much work as I have, and he could see all these different emerging fields coming together and begin to eloquently predict movement forward for this organization. Fascinating. And the fact that he has the courage to be imperfect, he's very sophisticated with it because he just pursues his intuition like nobody else, and I respect him for that. So it's just fun to watch his brain and his mind embrace the challenges, the business challenges that we're throwing our way. I think much of what we're afraid of is to be who we were meant to be. And so for me, most of the greatness comes from our just really leaning into our most authentic self. To be honest, I've met very few people that are comfortable doing that. But when you're in the presence of somebody who's comfortable in their own skin, that really understands who they are and what they were meant, why they exist, and what they were meant to do on the planet, it's absolutely invigorating to be around people like this. And so this idea of being a great human being is being authentic, being somebody who has done lots of self-exploration, examined who they are, they're comfortable with that, they embrace the downside of that, the upside of that, and yet still fully engage in their life. I really see the characteristics of a great leader are people, first of all, that have people that follow them. I'm very intrigued by people who can enroll people into the mission, the vision, the purpose of an organization. And these leadership qualities are unmistakable when you see them. It's almost like the wind. You can't see it itself, but you can see the effects of it. If you think about it, you know when somebody's ready to lead is when they're asking a lot of questions and they're curious about how to get better. I find leaders also have a bias towards action. Leaders that are emerging in the organization are the ones raising their hand saying, I'll try that. You can tell when somebody really wants to become a great leader when they're willing to take risks and evaluate their progress and seek mentorship. And this quality is something that I know is missing in our up-and-coming generations and some of the people, and we're looking for that. We're looking intentionally for people that are willing to raise their hands, take the risk without the promise of a payoff. Frequently, Xcellero is asked to participate in what we would call messy situations. There seems to be a resistance on other consultants and organizations to engage complicated human dynamic kinds of environments, and we actually find that fun and we find it interesting. And so a lot of companies will call us when they've become stuck, or they feel like they have somebody that's really good at getting results but bad with people, or really good with people and not getting the results, or there's interpersonal conflict. I think that's probably the most common thing we're getting called for these days. Of course, we're thrilled to be invited to participate in development. What we realize is we're practical enough that there's usually a pain somewhere in the organization that they want us to resolve, and so we're going to go and solve that problem with pain, and then we'd like to partner with sustainability and preventative or proactive development. Since Andy and I began working together 2 years ago, we've realized that because my background is in sort of seeing what other people don't see around the human experience, the psychological perspective, I have, uh, I have come to appreciate the business perspective as I've been involved in this environment. So when you compare working on the leader and leader development and then contrast that with working with the whole organization, which is what Andy has really spent most of his career doing, we really begin to, as Andy says, we begin to work from the top of the house to the bottom of the house and everything in between. And so we really find the complement of understanding the leader development side and then understanding the organizational development side as they come together and they're integrated. We find that there's more lift in the organization, unified through similar methodologies and principles. It's been quite extraordinary. We had no idea the impact that could have in an organization.